In today's video, I'll be painting one of the Raveners from the Tyranids, specifically in the Typhon Hive Fleet color scheme. I was going to do the Leviathan color scheme first, however, I was having a lot of issues with doing that, so you're getting this instead, so sorry. Which honestly, I prefer painting in the Typhon Hive Fleet scheme. It's just a lot more fun to me, and I hope this tutorial will show that, so let's get to painting. Let's go ahead and prime the model with Gray Seer from Citadel. This will be a perfect base for the lighter skin tone. Let's start with the flesh by base coating in FENRISIAN Gray. This includes all the limbs, head, and fin. Now we can get a dark gradient in the skin using a mix of RUSS and KANTOR. We'll use this to darken the flesh on the ribs, upper arms on the limbs, the tip of the tail, and base of the front fin. Then make sure to smooth the gradient on the tail and fin by mixing both RUSS Gray and FENRISIAN and use it as a glaze between the colors. Next, we can start adding shading onto the FENRISIAN sections by using RUSS Gray. Add this along the crevices of their tail, the crevices in the fin on the arms and hands, as well as the face near the eyes. You can then use a mix of FENRISIAN Gray and RUSS Gray to smoothen out the shadows. Now we can start highlighting the skin, first by highlighting the darker blue sections. We'll be using a mix of RUSS Gray and FENRISIAN for these highlights. This highlight should be added onto the edges of the ribs, as well as the upper creases in the flesh near their joints, and around these vents like the slits in their skin. Next, we can highlight the light sections of the skin by using a mix of FENRISIAN and Blue Horror and use the same method as the earlier highlight step. Once we have the main sections of the skin completed, let's prep the pinkish flesh throughout the body by base coating the joint flesh, vent slits, and the flesh under the carapace with pure Blue Horror. Once these fleshy bits are coated, we can start washing them with a mix of VOLOPUS pink and contrast medium. The ratio should be about 3 drops contrast medium and 1 drop VOLOPUS pink. Once that's fully dry, we can do another wash over the fin near the base to create a gradient as well as the back of the head to darken the skull. Then once that's fully dry, we can use a different wash with a mix of 1 drop DRUCHII purple and 1 drop contrast medium and add it onto their neck and throat. While that dries, we can now start adding in the details on their face by base coating most of the tongue in SLAANESH gray, as well as inside the mouth. Then, with the same DRUCHII wash you used on the neck earlier, wash the SLAANESH gray. Then with USHABTI bone, paint the tip of the tongue as well as the teeth. Now we can smoothen out the gradient on the tongue by mixing both USHABTI bone and SLAANESH gray. Next, use WRAITHBONE to edge highlight both the tongue as well as the tips of the teeth. Now all we got are the eyes, which all we gotta do is base coat the entire eye with SKRAG brown. Then with YRIEL yellow, highlight the bottom portion of the eye, and the flesh is complete. Now that the flesh is done, we can continue on with the carapace, as well as the claws and spikes. We can start off by base coating every carapace, as well as every claw and spike with VALLEJO black. You can also use Abaddon black as well if you don't have VALLEJO paint. However, I really like how the VALLEJO black looks once it's dry. It just gives off a darker effect since it doesn't bounce the light around as much. Once we have everything base coated, we can start on the highlights, which will give 2 distinct tints between the carapace and the claws. We can start with the claws by doing a base highlight of KHORNE red. This will go along the edges down the claw, as well as outlining any divots or holes in the claws. And make sure to remember to highlight the tips of these little spikes down the tail as well. Next, we can do a second red highlight by using a mix of KHORNE red and white. I don't have a specific ratio, but I'll say about 1 part white, 2 part KHORNE. This highlight will be added onto the base of the claws, as well as the tips of the small spikes down the tail. Now we can do the Carapace highlight first by edge highlighting them with Rust Gray. This will be a basic edge highlight before we begin the spike highlight. Once you have the main edge highlight completed, go ahead with FENRISIAN Gray and start adding in the spikes throughout the carapace. Make sure you either have a thin brush or a pointed enough edge to get the fine lines. And the bug itself is complete! Now we can do the last section, which will be the rock terrain. This should be pretty simple, but before I start painting, I'll quickly add in some texture paint to fill in between the model and the base. Once that texture is fully dry, go ahead with VALLEJO Black or Abaddon Black and base coat the dirt and rock terrain. Then with Eshin Gray and a dry brush, lightly brush over the dirt around the rock near the edge. Next, you can use a regular brush and paint the rock. I make sure I keep some splotches black to give the rock some variety in color. Then again, go ahead with Dawnstone and with a dry brush, brush over the dirt area again, but a bit lighter to get just the tips of the dirt texture. Then you can use a regular brush to do a similar paint technique over the rocks, where it goes on most of the Eshin, while keeping some splotches of it unpainted for color variety. And as simple as that, your mini is complete. I hope you liked today's video. As I've said in the beginning, I prefer painting in the Typhon color scheme. It's really simple to me, however, it just turns out really good. So I'm not sure about you, but I think I'll be probably sticking to this color scheme for the rest of my bugs. But as always, please let us know if there's any other models you want us to paint, either, one-off models or any combat patrols or spearheads. Just let us know with the comments down below, and I guess while you're down there, if you can like and subscribe, that would be really appreciative. But as always, we'll see you in another realm.